Welcome back to another episode. This is a solo episode today, so you only get me, no guests today. I feel like we've had some really great guests on the show, and really just talking about their resilient stories and things that have happened in their lives. And I think it's, for me, the stories that we've heard so far, I take them in and I just give them so much love and care because it's not easy to tell your story, and it's not easy to do that publicly and do that on a podcast with a host that you barely know. So I am very thankful for the people that have trusted me with these stories. And of course, there's always many, many more cool, amazing stories to come. And I really hope just so far that somewhere within these stories that it's touched you as the listener, and it's really touched you to know that no matter what it is that you go through, first off, you're not alone. You're not the only one that's going through something tough. And I think it's great to know that you're not the only person. I think it's so much harder to struggle when you are. And then, second off, I hope that what you taken from these stories is being grateful for your life and having gratitude, and how it's so easy to look at the negative and the bad. But if you can have gratitude for something in your life, I really hope you take that from these stories. We all have something to be thankful for. So I am really excited about today's episode. We're going to talk about the moment that I had to choose myself. And so for you as the listener, I hope it helps you think about the moment you had to choose you. From what I've noticed from these stories, and really in my own life, there comes this moment where everything shifts, and the moment where you had to stop choosing comfort or choosing relatability or choosing to shrink and be smaller to help somebody else, and to finally have that pivotal moment where you say, I'm going to choose me. And today I want to talk about what that moment looked like for me and why choosing myself isn't being selfish, is more about when I choose me later on in life, I'm able to help so many other people because I put me first in order to get to a point that I need to be in my life. But what's really cool is in other people's stories that we've heard and the guests that we've had so far, you can hear about some of those pivotal moments where people started choosing them. And then later on, we talk about their story about where they are now, or, the families that they've had. And it's like, I chose me then so that when I got here, I was able to choose my family. I was able to be there more for them because I figured out more about me. It's less about being selfish. It's more about just learning and evolving and understanding who you are, in order just to be a better person, number one, but to just really help other people. I always say this, but we're really in this world in order to help each other. And in order to do that, we have to be better for ourselves. So I want to talk about this pivotal moment in my life where I decided to choose me. I think one of those pivotal moments for me when I decided to choose me was really after my second diagnosis. So the second time around, I came out of remission of aplastic anemia. I was just told, you have aplastic anemia again. But the second time around, you not only have one blood disorder, you've now been diagnosed with two, and you've been diagnosed with PNH, which stands for paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Both of my blood disorders kind of counteract each other in a way. But knowing this, what I wanted to do was to be strong, be that strong one, so that my family could know, okay, if I'm okay as the patient, they are going to be okay too. And thinking about their emotions and putting that at the forefront of my mind, when of course you want nothing but to have a caring family. And for me and my family, we want nothing more than to support each other. But in this instance, I had to choose me. I had to put me first emotionally. What I mean by that is I remember calling my mom and giving her the bad news. And as the patient, that's not easy to do, especially when you're fighting this the second time around and your family has seen you go through something traumatic, hard, something in your life you never thought you would experience. And so now, I was given the news, but then to have to call my family and give them the news, that was not easy at all. And I remember just trying to console everybody, even my doctor. My doctor, I went to school with her daughter, so we graduated together. So I knew my doctor. Her coming in the room crying as she held the results, knowing it's back. I instantly did what Brandi does. I started consoling her. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to be okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. And I remember getting in my car in the parking lot and cranking up my car to leave. And I lost it, like bursting into tears, just in my car crying, just frustrated. Why me? Why am I going through this again? I've already done this before. I fought the battle. I got out of it. Why am I back in this again? So I remember having that talk of just being frustrated with myself of how did I get here again a second time? Having those questions and those thoughts and knowing what I was going to have to go through of I know how hard this is going to be. I know the battle. I know the mental, physical, and emotional sides of this battle. And then having to dial that number and call my mom and tell her it's back. I have to fight this a second time. And then finding out that I not only was fighting one blood disorder, but I was fighting two the second time. That was the toughest news ever to get and then have to give to my family. And I remember, again, going into that mode of protecting everybody else. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you okay? Are you good? Or is dad good? How am I going to break the news to my sisters? Like, I'm okay. How was everybody else? And that is me. It's me always, in a way, wanting everybody else to be okay. I felt like I was the burden. And to have that relief of being remission of, I'm not the burden anymore. I'm not the one everybody's looking at. I'm not the one that people are focused on. I'm not known as the sick girl anymore. Like, that was a sigh of relief. And then to know that I'm put right back in that place that I was in before, unknowingly, and now knowingly. I know what I'm going to have to go through. I know how hard it's going to be. That was probably the hardest time for me. And I wasn't choosing me in a time that my family would have known why I was choosing me and would have been totally okay with it. But when you're so used to putting yourself in a position of wanting to care for everybody else, it's easy to push yourself aside. I wouldn't say necessarily put myself last, but pushing myself aside, pushing my feelings aside to make sure everybody else was okay. Because in the back of my mind, I'm the burden again. It's me. I am the one that's causing the stress on my family, the emotional stress. It's me again. And having that word again, I have to do this again. I have to run around, find the best doctor again. I have to get a second choice again. I got to figure out what's the best plan of action again. I have to find a team of nurses and people, everything for a second time. And I've had a lady on my podcast, and she has had breast cancer, I think 4 times now. And she's had to say that again 3 times. I think in our life, it's so easy to focus on the negative when those things happen. And you think what's going on in your life is so hard. But hearing those types of stories, I think it helps put life into perspective for you as the listener of, I'm not going through that. I mean, my life could be so much harder. I could be fighting for my life. I could have this diagnosis that keeps coming back again and again and again. Not saying what you're going through is not hard, but I think it helps you to have gratitude for where you are in your life, hearing these different stories. So after giving that news to my mom and consoling my mom, making sure my dad's okay, trying to figure out, okay, how I'm going to break the news to my parents, or excuse me, how am I going to break the news to my sisters? I said, okay, I need to take a deep breath. I'm driving in the car. I'm on my way to my parents' house. And I was like, I got to figure this out for me. And I remember getting home and I remember going straight to my room and laying there. And my mom came in, and as parents and moms do, asking you every 5 seconds, are you okay? Are you okay? And I remember looking at her as she stood in the door and just saying, because I found out on a Friday, and I remember just saying, I got to cry this out. Give me the weekend. I need it. I need time to feel all the emotions I'm feeling inside, because there were so many. There was shame, there was embarrassment, there was frustration, there was anger. I mean, so many emotions. There was just not understanding why. Why am I the person having to go through this again, feeling alone in it again? And I said, I need the weekend. I need to put me first in this situation. Sulk it all out. Let me sulk around the house. Let me get all these feelings out, and we will fight. I will pick myself up and I will fight, because I know that is what I have to do in order to get out of this again. And having that time to just feel those emotions, having that time to put me first, having that time to not really care about how everybody else was perceiving me in the moment is what helped me. And so when I talk about putting you first, putting me first, putting all of us as individuals first in our lives, it's those types of moments. It's not, you don't have to do it in a mean, rude way. It's not about pushing everybody else aside and being selfish about the situation. No, it's more about knowing me putting me first in this type of situation is for the betterment, honestly, of everybody else. If I'm able to sit here, feel all these emotions, get this frustration out, do whatever I have to do, listen to all the sulky music, sulk around the house as I drag my feet, and my shoulders are hunched over, and my head is always down for the weekend, and not caring how anybody else in this house is perceiving me. If that is what I have to do for me in order to get all these emotions out so that I can fight with the best of me, that's what I'm going to do. And look at where I am now because of me taking the time, putting me first. And that's just one situation of many. And I think we all have many situations in our lives where we have had to put us first, and not in a selfish manner, but because we know that when we do that, it's to help everybody else. I really want you to stop and think about a time in your life, a season in your life when you had to put you first. Maybe it was a season of burnout. Maybe it was a season of burnout at work. Maybe it was an unhealthy relationship. Maybe it was an identity issue of you trying to understand more about you. Maybe it was health related, like myself. Thinking about those specific moments in your life, I wonder, what made you put you first? What was it that made you stop and say, okay, I've got to do this for me. I need this time for me in my life. Was there a light bulb that went off? Was there something that you thought about? For me, in my story, I was thinking about my family and knowing that I wanted to be around for a long time on this earth. And I knew in order to do that, I had to fight. But in order to fight, I knew that I had to be somewhat mentally capable for that fight. But in order to be mentally capable for that fight, I had to feel those emotions now so that they didn't harbor and linger throughout my health journey again. So when you've had that light bulb that went off of, I've got to do this for me, why? Who was that for, really, in the end? You putting you first, what was that for? I think about relationships and how they can be tough, and it's so easy to put you aside in a relationship. It's so easy to put that person first. And after you do that time and time again, you find that you aren't you anymore, or you find that, oh, I I did it again. I thought I learned this lesson. I thought I said when I got in this relationship that I wouldn't put me aside, and unknowingly you've done that. But when you've come to the realization that that is what's going on, what was that light bulb to say, I can't do this again? Who was that light bulb for? Who did you want to be better for? Did you want to be better for you? Did you want to be better for that family down the road that you wanted to have? Did you want to be better for your unborn kids so they knew how to show up in a relationship and how they should be treated? Who were you really doing it for? And I think that's what's so funny about my story and talking about this more, is when you're showing up for you, in the end, it's for the betterment of you, because it's for the betterment of somebody else down the road. Maybe it's for your family. Maybe it's for that relationship and that husband that you know is going to treat you right, or that wife you know is going to treat you right. Identity. I think, I've talked about in different episodes how people have had and try to understand who they are in this world and on earth, and how having that identity crisis, and in the moment season of, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do in life. I don't know what I want to go to college for. I don't know if the career path I'm in is what I really want to stay in. And how we have those identity issues sometimes in different seasons of our lives. But why did you decide to make that pivotal change and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out, whether it's go to therapy, whether it's talking to a confident, maybe whether it's going to church and finding a small group or people that you can lean on to help you. Why did you decide to make the change and do some things outside of your comfort zone to be better? And I always wonder, like, what were you feeling during that time? For me, it was laying in that bed. I just knew I had all these emotions, all these feelings inside of my body, and they were fighting each other. They were fighting each other, and I was trying to be good. I was trying to be okay, not for me, for my family. I was trying to put my feelings aside, and I just kind of subconsciously knew in doing that I wasn't helping me. I knew that I wasn't helping me. I knew that it was going to be to the detriment of me, because those emotions and those feelings were going to come out at some time in this health journey. And I didn't want it to be in an unhealthy way. I didn't want to resent my diagnosis. I didn't want to resent my life. I didn't want to have any of that. Didn't want to have any negative emotions. So I felt, in this moment, I have to be better for me. I have to choose me in this situation, so that I'm not hurting myself down the road because I put me last, or I put me second to everybody else's feelings. So I wonder, where in your story did you have these feelings of, I can't do this? The feelings of being frustrated of, this isn't working. This is not working the way that I thought it was going to go. Was not the life that I planned. I laugh because the life we plan, I feel like, never goes as planned. But this is not the life I planned. It wasn't supposed to work out this way. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. And if you're anybody like me, I'm a planner in any area of my life. And I think some areas it's great to plan, just like my podcast and coming out with different episodes and guests. Great. It works great for this. But I think in other areas of my life, planning does not work so well, because not everything goes as planned. So that was my breaking point. And that was when I put me first. And the realization of that and having the confidence and being okay with saying, I'm choosing me right now, I think it's what led me here. I know for sure it's what led me here. So I think those realizations and learning to listen to your body and learning to be okay with feeling those negative feelings, I think that's okay. It's okay because we're not always going to feel things that are positive and okay in life, but having those feelings of something's not right. I'm not feeling okay. This is not the way it was supposed to go. Okay, I've got to change something. And that's where the change comes in. It's that pivotal moment where you decide to put you first. It's that shift. I think it's the shift of maybe setting boundaries in your life. Maybe it's the shift of saying no. For me, it was the shift in resting. It was the shift in saying, I have to put my emotions first right now. I hate that I'm doing this to everybody. I feel like I am in that moment, but I have to put me first and these emotions that I'm feeling so that I can be better. A better daughter, a better sister. I have to put me first. And in taking that resting moment within my weekend and being as dramatic as I wanted to be with all the sad movies and all of the ice cream and just the sulking and walking around the house sad and pitiful and poor me just for a weekend and not staying there is what really helped me. It can be uncomfortable too. It can be uncomfortable to have that shift. It can be uncomfortable if you're not used to putting you first. It can be. But I think if you start with something small and prioritizing you and your health, maybe it's after work one day, going for a walk, or maybe it's taking an hour out of your day on the weekend to read a book and sit outside when it's pretty out. I don't think it always has to be big. I don't think it always has to be a big moment. But I do think choosing yourself helps you to better show up for you, for your loved ones, for everybody around you. It really helps. So I want to talk about 3 different episodes that have come out that I think there were pivotal moments within those stories that we talked about where these guests decided to choose them. And in choosing them, the more we talked through their life journey and more through their stories, we found how choosing them in some specific moment of their story and in their life later down the road helped them to be able to be with family and to choose those loved ones. One is with Lynn Green, and we talk about her mom and how growing up, the relationship with her mom was hard. It was challenging. She always loved her mom, but it was a challenging relationship. And how she felt like growing up, she was always choosing her mom. She was always putting her mom's feelings above hers. And she was always rushing to make sure her mom was okay, even when she wasn't. And how she decided to show up for her and how she decided to put her first. Now, her and her mom are able to be better together because of that, because she put boundaries in place for her. She was able to speak up about those boundaries. She now has a son that she's like, this won't happen to him down the road. I won't ever put him in this position because I knew what it felt like to be there. I've worked hard to get out of this situation. Or Mariana's story, who was diagnosed with pseudochondroplasia, which is a rare genetic bone growth disorder, and how she was diagnosed at a young age. And it can be hard to show up for you at a young age. It can be hard to put you first when a disorder happens because it's chronic. It goes on for a long time. But in showing up for her, she is now able to show up for her 2 boys and her husband. And I think that is what's so beautiful about showing up for you in Mariana's story of her being diagnosed with this disorder and having all of these surgeries. She now is at a point where she's able to help her sons. And whatever they go through in their life, she's able to show up and be there because she's been there. If they decide to put them first in a situation, she now understands that because she has been in a similar situation. I think it's so much easier to have grace when you've been there. And we've all been different situations in life, but I think sometimes it's hard for us to see and think back to what we've been in and put ourselves in their position of, okay, if I was them right now, the way they're reacting to this, would I justify that? Is this okay? I think sometimes that has definitely helped me in a lot of different situations with others is, okay, I want to put myself in their shoes right now. How would I feel if I were them right now? And I think it's great in giving grace when you know you've been there too. Another guest I've had on is Dan McQueen. You guys have to go listen to these episodes if you haven't. His is an amazing story of him having 2 brain injuries and having to have surgery after surgery, and how he's not back to 100%, but he is learning how to be him with the brain injuries, and how he is challenging himself in life. He's learned so much about the resilience of life and having a mindset change. If you are looking for a mindset change, I would say go listen to Dan McQueen's story. He gives really good tips in that episode as well, as far as understanding how to change your mindset. And who better to learn from somebody that's had 2 brain injuries that has really messed with his day-to-day life. Who better to learn from? Who better to look at and say, gosh, if he can do this, I can do it too. He has so much tenacity. He has so much determination to live life, no matter how hard it is, no matter what he may look like on the outside. He's determined to live. And that is what I love so much about his story, is him choosing him in order to live, so that now he's able to speak to other people about what he's been through in order to help their lives as well. He talks about in his episode tips if anybody wants to meditate, and it's really great, and how he has gotten up to, I think, like 10 or 15 minutes of meditation now, and that is not easy. It's not easy to sit there and be still, but in him learning that, he took the time for himself to learn something so that his mindset can be better, so he can be better for the people around him. It's got to be frustrating to have had 2 brain injuries, have these surgeries where like both of his eyes aren't straight, and to keep having to have these different surgeries in order to help put all the pieces of him back together, knowing that he won't fully always be who he was before the brain injuries, but how through his story, he's had this mindset change, and how life looks so much different to him than what it looked like before. These 3 guests are perfect examples of how they showed up for them within their stories. And in showing up for them, they're able to show up for everybody else. I have an amazing episode coming out. I don't want to give it away, but in this story, this lady shows up and has this pivotal moment in her life where she decides to choose her and her baby so that she can show her child what a healthy relationship is. And in doing that, it led her down this road to where she is now like a director at a pharmaceutical company, and how life was really tough in that moment. And she talks about that. And she says, life was hard. That was the hardest moment for me. But in making that move and in sleeping on a friend's couch for a couple weeks and then finding her own place and being on welfare and doing that, it was because she knew I have to be better for me in order to be better for the people around me, including her young baby. Those are the stories that I feel like leave like an imprint on you. Every story I've heard, and we've got some good ones coming, but in every story, these people have left such an imprint on me because their stories are not what we think of. These are people that we see when we're walking through a grocery store and we're passing them. And maybe we smile at each other, maybe we don't. I think everybody has such an amazing story that could be told. And I hope in hearing these stories, it helps you know that your story is meant to be heard as well. So I want to end this episode with really just you first off understanding that choosing you is not you being selfish. Choosing you is so that you can be better for other people around you. And if you're listening to this episode right now and you feel stuck, you feel overwhelmed, or like you're just a little lost in your life, I want you to ask yourself this question. Where in my life am I not choosing me? And what would it look like if I started? Choosing you could be big, it could be small, it could be moving cities and choosing you. It could be something as small as saying today I'm going to take a PTO day from work and put me first. Where in your life can you choose you? And what would that look like if you started? Because choosing yourself isn't about being selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about you becoming the person that you are supposed to be in this world. Remember, we only get one life to live. You only get this time on earth. No matter how old you are, your life is not over. You still have time. You still have time to show up better in those relationships. You still have time to show up better for you. You still have time to find your purpose. You still have time to find your calling. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you were never meant to. I hope this episode resonated with you wherever you are in your life. If it helps you to think back on a place in your life where you did choose you and you had that pivotal moment, or is helping you move forward and have that pivotal moment now so that you can be better for you. Wherever you are, I am always thinking about you. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.